When someone's heart stops, everything stops. Blood can't bring oxygen to the brain or body tissues, and for all intents and purposes, that person has died. We don't give up right away, though. We start CPR. If this happens outside of a hospital, a person's chances of survival are terrible. Only 5 to 6%. CPR isn't magic. It just keeps the blood moving through the body long enough to give the heart a fighting chance. There is a key factor, though, that can help tip the scales. When a bystander starts compressions before the ambulance arrives, survival rates more than double. But CPR doesn't happen by accident. We've trained millions of people. We've put defibrillators in libraries and airports. We've passed Good Samaritan laws to make it safe for people to intervene. We've built an entire system. And here's what we don't do. We don't blame the heart. No one kneels down next to someone in cardiac arrest and wonders whether they deserve this, whether they brought this on themselves. We don't weigh their worthiness before we save them. We just save them. I was 11 when my father got sick. He stayed in bed for about a week. I remember checking his temperature every day before school. His tired voice telling me I'm not that kind of sick, kiddo. I remember my mom on the phone with the doctor, her voice low and tight, listing his symptoms, his history, our family history. At her insistence, he went to the appointment, came home, got back into bed. Nothing seemed to change. 2 days later, while my sister and I were at school, he took his own life. My father came from a blue-collar construction family. 6 kids moving between southern and northern Canada, building houses, finishing entire neighborhoods. They worked fast, and they worked to impossibly high standards. In that world, there was no room for cracks, let alone crumbling. So my father was the 3rd of his brothers to die by suicide. 3 men, each facing unbearable stress. Each either didn't reach out or reached out and didn't get what they needed. The lesson I learned watching the men in my family was this: you were either okay or you were not. And if you were not, there wasn't anything that could fix it. You didn't start over. You endured or you disappeared. When I hit my teenage years, the family brain chemistry swallowed me whole. Suicidal ideation hit me hard. You reach this point where you're not just sad, you're terrified of your own mind. I understood then, for the first time, how scared and alone and desperate my father must have felt. We have an entire system designed to catch people when their hearts fail. So why don't we have one for when it happens with the mind? CPR breaks down to just 2 steps. First, recognize. Know how to check for a pulse, know how to check for breathing, recognize when someone needs your help. Second, restart. Compressions, breaths, defibrillators. Use whatever tools you have to bring the heart back. We've spent decades building this system to restart hearts. But for psychological crises, we tell people to keep your chin up, shake it off, or pull yourself up by the bootstraps. We put the entire burden on the person already falling apart. It's that extra weight that causes people, like my father and uncles, to crumble entirely. We have no psychological equivalent of CPR. But that doesn't mean there can't be. We know how to build this. Some police forces in the UK are building this intentionally. Officers take mandatory time off after traumatic incidents. They use a support program where trained colleagues, not HR or management, but peers, check in after these critical calls. Officers with access to this program reported fewer PTSD symptoms, less stigma, and a greater willingness to seek help. The job did not get any easier. They just didn't have to carry it alone. When systems are designed right, in workplaces, in schools, in families, people can fall apart and come back together. In practice, that comes down to just two questions. Is it safe to fall apart here? And are there ways to come back together? Most systems fail at the first, which makes the second impossible. So we have to start with the first, recognize. We've trained millions of people in CPR. We should be training people to recognize when someone is stressed, overwhelmed, or exhausted as the public health crisis that it is. But we can't recognize what people have been trained to hide, because someone will only show signs if they know it won't be used against them. When you're giving someone CPR, they physically can't fight you on it. With mental illness, it's different. People resist. They say they're fine. They go to the appointment, get back into bed, and nothing seems to change. But I'd argue that that resistance isn't a flaw in the person. It is a symptom of a system that taught them that falling apart wasn't safe, which is why we have to build the system first. My system started with my mom. She went through her own breakdown when my father died, went through therapy. She told me years later that because she'd been through all that, she was able to see the signs when I was falling apart in college. Failing classes, sleeping all day, losing weight. She pulled me out before I hit bottom because she'd learned to recognize what crumbling looks like. Recognition also means removing the punishment for showing cracks. Stepping away to take care of your mental health shouldn't change the way people see you, but the reality is that it does. People judge, whether they mean to or not. They question your ability when you return. And that judgment kills vulnerability. Every year on October 28th, I take the day off for the anniversary of my father's death. I tell people why. I say it's too hard. I can't work. My hope is when people face their own unbearable days, anniversary of a parent's death, a diagnosis, whatever it is, they'll remember that I said it's okay to take a step back. And maybe they'll give themselves that permission too. In CPR, recognizing cardiac arrest is important, but it doesn't save anyone. The compressions do. The same is true here. Recognition creates the opening, but restart is what actually brings people back. Once someone has fallen apart, restart means two things: building community support and designing for second chances. Create space for real check-ins, not "how are you?" in passing, real ones. Like bystander CPR, community support does not happen by accident. It takes work. When I came home from college after my second hospitalization, my best friend from high school kept showing up. Whenever he could, without being asked, he would drive in from his school out of state to come visit. Sometimes that meant giving me a ride to my outpatient therapy appointments just to drop me off, go back to his house. He didn't have a manual. He just paid attention and kept coming back until I could show up for myself. That's what community support looks like. It's not grand gestures. It's just someone who keeps showing up. The second part of Restart is designing for second chances. A few years ago, I burnt out working overnight shifts as a dispatcher at an ambulance company, so I quit. A month later, when I reached out, they brought me back. They actually promoted me into a leadership role. They looked at someone who'd fallen apart and decided to bet on them anyway. In the EMT program I taught, students could retake the course as many times as they needed. We were still strict. You had to pass every test, but you could try again. Some of the best EMTs I ever taught were on their second or third attempt. Life happened. Family illnesses, deaths, financial crises. But given another shot, they were exceptional. That's what designing for Restart looks like. This is about system design, not individual failure. The systems that didn't exist for my father, they saved my life. But systems don't build themselves. The people inside them do. As leaders, we go first. We share the stories that cost us something to tell. We show people that it is okay to not be okay, that pain is real, and that it's safe to ask for help. And we audit our policies honestly. Are they designed to punish or to provide genuine, structured support? As friends, we pay attention to the small shifts. The friend who goes quiet, the person who cancels once, then twice, then disappears. You don't need perfect words. You just need to notice. That might mean dropping off food, or leaving a voice memo, or just sitting in silence. Showing up doesn't have to be perfect, just real. For ourselves, we need to get honest about our own early warning signs because they're different for everyone. Maybe it's sleep, maybe it's appetite, maybe it's snapping at the people you love, or that numbness where nothing really feels like it matters. Know your version of crumbling so you can catch it early. Build in rest before you desperately need it. And give yourself permission to say, I am not okay today, before it becomes something much harder to say. I want you to take a moment and think about one system that you're a part of, your workplace, your school, your family, your community. Ask yourself those two questions. Is it safe to fall apart here? And are there ways to come back together? If the answer is no to either, it's time to change the narrative. You're going to leave this room today. You're going to see people you work with, people you care about. Someone in your life right now is probably holding on to something they don't think they can say out loud. The only question is whether your system, the one you're a part of, makes it safe for them to speak it. My father and his brothers didn't have a system. I did, barely. I've survived because of the people who were willing to catch me when I fall. Because my mom learned through the worst loss imaginable how to see the signs. Because I had access to care. And because I know how awful it feels to be left behind. But it shouldn't take all of that. We don't have to lose people to learn how to save them. We have spent years building infrastructure to catch hearts. Now, let's build one to catch minds. Thank you.